Most people think April is when gardening begins. That's the mistake. By the time April arrives, the most important decisions have already been made underground. February is not about growth you can see. It's about preparation you can't see. Roots forming quietly, microbes waking up, soil chemistry shifting before spring even announces itself. If you want April to reward you, February is where the work starts. Let's begin. The number one is garlic. Its scientific name is Allium sativum. Garlic has been planted by humans for more than 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptians fed it to workers building the pyramids. Roman soldiers carried it for strength. Medieval farmers trusted it not just as food, but as protection for their soil. People plant garlic because it's simple, reliable, and powerful. One clove becomes a full bulb. No fancy tools, no complicated care. But here's what most people miss. Garlic is not a spring crop, it's a cold season strategist. When you plant garlic in February, something important happens. The clove experiences cold soil temperatures that trigger a process called vernalization. This tells the plant, winter has passed, it's safe to prepare for reproduction. Without this cold signal, garlic grows weak, bulbs stay small, flavor suffers. Historically, garlic was always planted late winter or fall because farmers noticed something long before science explained it. Cold makes garlic stronger. By planting in February, garlic spends March building a deep, aggressive root system. By the time April arrives, it's already established. While other plants are just waking up, garlic is already ahead. The advantages go beyond the harvest. Garlic releases natural sulfur compounds into the soil. These compounds suppress harmful fungi and deter certain pests. In traditional gardens, garlic wasn't just food, it was soil medicine. But garlic does have a downside if planted carelessly. If you plant garlic year after year in the same spot, it can deplete sulfur and compact soil slightly due to its dense root zone. The safe way to plant garlic is rotation. Move it every season. Pair it with leafy greens or legumes afterward. This keeps the soil balanced while still benefiting from garlic's protective nature. Planted correctly in February, garlic doesn't just prepare for April, it controls April. The number two is peas. Its scientific name is Pisum sativum. Peas were one of the first domesticated crops in human history. Archaeological evidence shows peas being grown over 8,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent. People plant peas because they grow fast, taste fresh, and feel rewarding. But historically, peas were planted for a much deeper reason. Peas belong to a special group of plants called legumes. These plants form a partnership with soil bacteria known as rhizobium. Together, they do something remarkable. They pull nitrogen out of the air. That nitrogen doesn't just feed the pea plant, it feeds the soil. February is the perfect time to plant peas because peas hate heat. Once temperatures rise, they rush to finish their life cycle. If you wait until spring warmth, peas grow stressed, flower too fast, and stop producing early. When planted in February, peas grow slowly and steadily. They spend March building roots and bacterial partnerships underground. By April, they're not struggling, they're thriving. This is why old farming systems always planted peas early. They weren't just harvesting peas, they were preparing land for whatever came next. After peas finish, the soil is richer in nitrogen than before. That's not gardening advice, that's agricultural history. But peas can cause problems if misunderstood. If peas are planted in soil already overloaded with nitrogen, they grow excessive leaves and weak pods. They also need support. Without it, vines sprawl, shade soil unevenly, and create moisture pockets. The safe way to plant peas is simple. Plant them early. Keep soil modest, not over-fertilized. Use trellises or natural supports. Let them enrich the soil, then follow them with hungry crops like corn, squash, or brassicas. Peas don't just give food, they prepare land. By the time February planting has done its quiet work underground, something important begins to change. The soil starts behaving differently. It warms more evenly. Water moves better. Microbial life becomes active before spring rushes in. That's where the next plant earns its place. 3. Mustard greens. Brassica junca. Mustard greens are often treated like a fast salad crop, something you throw into soil and harvest quickly. But historically, mustard had a very different role. In ancient India, China, and parts of Europe, mustard was planted not just for food, but for control. Farmers learned early that mustard roots interacted aggressively with the soil around them. People plant mustard greens because they grow fast, tolerate cold, and give quick results. But the real reason mustard belongs in February is underground, not above it. Mustard is a biofumigant. That means as it grows, its roots release natural compounds, glucosinolates, that suppress harmful soil pathogens. Certain fungi, nematodes, and bad bacteria struggle to survive near mustard roots. When mustard is planted in February, it grows slowly in cool soil, allowing these compounds to build steadily. By April, the soil around mustard is cleaner, more balanced, and less hostile to future crops. Historically, mustard was planted between crop cycles to reset soil, long before chemical treatments existed. Farmers didn't know the chemistry, but they saw the results: fewer diseases, stronger crops afterward. But mustard can cause problems if misunderstood. If left to mature and drop seed freely, it can become invasive in small gardens. It can also compete aggressively for nutrients if grown too close to slower crops. The safe way to plant mustard is intentional timing. Plant it early, harvest it young for greens, or cut it down before flowering and let the residue break down into the soil. This turns mustard into a soil treatment rather than a competitor. Planted in February, mustard prepares the ground quietly so April crops don't struggle. 4. Onions. Allium cepa. Onions have followed human civilization for over 7,000 years. They were cultivated in ancient Mesopotamia, worshipped in Egypt, and valued across Europe because they stored well and fed people through winters. People plant onions because they're essential. They go into nearly every meal. They store for months. They feel reliable. But onions are misunderstood. Onions do not like rushing. They are triggered by daylight length, not temperature alone. When onions are planted too late, they focus on leaves instead of bulbs. When planted early, they establish roots first, and that changes everything. February planting allows onions to build strong root systems while days are still short. By the time April brings longer daylight, onions are ready to switch into bulb formation instead of struggling to catch up. Historically, onion growers always planted early because onions that struggled early never recovered later. Modern gardeners often forget this because transplants hide the problem temporarily. Onions also influence soil in subtle ways. Like garlic, they release sulfur-based compounds that discourage certain pests and diseases. This makes them valuable border plants in traditional gardens. But onions can harm soil if mismanaged. Their shallow roots can compact topsoil if planted repeatedly in the same place. They also compete poorly with weeds, leading gardeners to disturb soil too often. The safe way to plant onions is spacing and rotation. Give them room. Avoid planting onions after onions. Pair them with deep-rooted plants later in the season to loosen soil naturally. Planted in February, onions don't just grow earlier, they grow correctly. They enter April prepared, not pressured. There is one plant on this list that most people don't plant for food at all. They plant it for what comes after. 5. Clover, Trifolium species. Clover has been working for farmers far longer than fertilizers ever existed. Long before bags, labels, or soil tests, farmers noticed something simple. Fields that rested under clover came back stronger. People plant clover because it looks harmless. Soft leaves, small flowers, easy growth. But clover is not gentle underground. Like peas, clover is a legume. It forms partnerships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. But unlike peas, clover doesn't rush. It stays low. It spreads slowly. It works continuously. February is the perfect time to plant clover because cold soil favors root development over leaf growth. While nothing dramatic happens above ground, something important happens below it. Clover builds a dense, living root network that holds soil together, improves water infiltration, and feeds microbial life. By April, soil under clover behaves differently. It stays moist longer. It resists erosion. It responds better to planting. Historically, clover was the foundation of crop rotation systems across Europe. Farmers planted clover not to harvest it, but to heal land exhausted by grain and vegetables. This wasn't theory, it was survival. But clover can cause problems if misunderstood. If allowed to dominate, clover can compete with young seedlings. If left unmanaged, it can spread into areas where it isn't wanted. The safe way to plant clover is intention. Use it as a living mulch. Cut it back. Allow it to feed the soil, then step aside when heavier feeders need space. Clover doesn't steal, it prepares. By now, the pattern should be clear. February planting isn't about impatience, it's about respect for timing. Garlic waits for cold. Peas work with bacteria. Mustard cleans quietly. Onions respond to light. Clover rebuilds what was used. April doesn't reward effort made in April. It rewards preparation made earlier. Most gardening advice focuses on what you can see: leaves, growth, harvest. But the real work happens when the garden looks empty, when soil is cool, when roots are forming, when no one is watching. If you plant these plants in February, you're not rushing the season. You're aligning with it. And that's the difference between gardens that struggle every year and gardens that seem to work on their own. The soil remembers what you do in February.